Welcome to Coins Hunter USA, the home of America's rarest and most valuable coins. If you're passionate about coin collecting or just love discovering hidden treasures in your pocket change, you're in the right place. In today's video, we're diving into one of the most fascinating coins in US history, the Washington quarter. You'll learn what makes this coin special, how certain errors and minting details can skyrocket its value, and why collectors all over the world are searching for it. And hey, if you have one of these rare quarters or any other valuable US coin that you're looking to sell, don't hesitate. Subscribe to my channel and reach out to me directly through DMs or the comments section below. I'd love to connect with fellow collectors, help you identify your coin's value, and maybe even buy it from you. Let's get into it, because that Washington quarter in your hand could be worth far more than just 25 cents. Top 1. Today we're taking a deep dive into a piece of American coinage that many people carry without a second thought, yet a rare version of this coin could be hiding in your home, worth an amount that might just blow your mind. We're talking about none other than the 1979 Washington quarter, a 25-cent piece that, under the right conditions, has sold for as much as $70,000. That's right, $70,000. So before you dump out that jar of change or roll those coins for the bank, watch this video carefully, because what you're about to learn could turn pocket change into a precious treasure. Let's begin our journey with a bit of history. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of America's first president, George Washington. Originally meant to be a one-year commemorative coin, it was so well received that it remained in production, and has since become one of the most iconic coins in U.S. history. It has evolved over the decades, but the image of Washington facing left has remained a constant presence in the pockets of millions. By 1979, the Washington quarter had been in circulation for nearly 5 decades. The coin produced in that year followed the design created by sculptor John Flanagan, featuring a stoic bust of George Washington on the obverse, with the words "Liberty" above, "In God We Trust" to the left, and the date, 1979, at the bottom. On the reverse side, a powerful eagle spreads its wings, perched on a bundle of arrows, symbolizing military readiness, and surrounded by olive branches, a nod to America's desire for peace. But what makes the 1979 quarter so special, and why are collectors scrambling to find certain versions of this coin? Let's break it down. First, we need to understand where the coin was minted. In 1979, quarters were struck at 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, marked with a D, and San Francisco, marked with an S. While millions were produced overall, not all of them were created equally, and this is where things get exciting. Some of the rarest and most valuable quarters from 1979 come from the San Francisco Mint, where proof coins were made. But due to a minting anomaly, a very small number of these proof quarters show what's known as a clear S mint mark and a filled S or blurry S mint mark. The difference is subtle, but collectors who specialize in die varieties know just how important it is. In fact, the Type 1 and Type 2 varieties of the 1979 S quarter have been a topic of obsession for numismatists. Type 1 has a blob-like S mint mark, while Type 2 has a clearer, more refined S. And guess what? The Type 2, clear S version is significantly more desirable and valuable. Now let's talk about minting errors. The holy grail for many collectors. Minting errors are mistakes made during the production process that result in coins with abnormalities. While mistakes might seem like defects, in the world of coin collecting, errors can mean value. And the 1979 Washington quarter has some particularly juicy examples. Imagine finding a double die quarter, where the image, especially the date or lettering, appears doubled because the die stamped the coin twice out of alignment. This kind of error can dramatically increase the coin's value. Or how about an off-center strike, where the design isn't properly aligned and part of the coin is blank or misprinted? Those are highly collectible. There are also broad-struck quarters, where the edge appears smooth and flattened due to improper collar alignment during minting. Each of these errors can make an otherwise common coin into a rare and valuable piece of U.S. history, and let's not forget one of the most fascinating types of errors: wrong planchet strikes. A 1979 quarter struck on a nickel or even a foreign coin blank can fetch incredible prices at auction. These rare combinations happened when a blank meant for another denomination accidentally made it into the quarter press. When that happens, bingo! You've got a coin that might look strange at first but could sell for thousands. But rarity isn't just about errors or mint marks, it's also about condition. In the world of coin collecting, condition is king. A coin in circulated condition, with scratches, dullness, and signs of wear, will always be worth less than the same coin in pristine shape. If your 1979 Washington quarter is in uncirculated condition, or better yet, has been graded MS-65 or higher by a professional grading service, its value increases dramatically. Collectors are especially drawn to coins that have never seen a cash register or change drawer, coins that look just as fresh as the day they were minted. These mint state quarters, especially with rare features or errors, can soar in value. Now, here's where things get very real. In 2021, an extraordinary 1979 quarter with a rare mint error, excellent condition, and collector demand sold for a jaw-dropping $70,000 at auction. That's $70,000 for a coin that was meant to be just 25 cents, let that sink in. A small piece of metal that most people overlook became a small fortune, not because of luck, but because someone paid attention. Someone spotted the details. Someone recognized the hidden story. So now the question is, do you have one? Go ahead, check your change. Look closely at the date. Examine the mint mark. Use a magnifier if you need to. And most importantly, never assume that a coin is worthless just because it looks ordinary. The rarest treasures are often disguised in plain sight. Top 2. We've got a real mystery and treasure to unravel, the 1998 Washington quarter, a coin that millions of people have held in their hands, spent at stores, or tossed into a jar without a second thought. But what if I told you that one very specific version of this common quarter could be worth a jaw-dropping $75,000? Yes, you heard that right, and today, we're going to take you deep into the details of how a regular-looking quarter from 1998 could become a collector's dream. So sit back, grab your coin collection, and stay with us until the end, because you might just have one of these rare gems hiding in plain sight. Let's go back in time to 1998. A year before one of the biggest changes in U.S. coinage history, the launch of the 50-state quarters program. That year marked the end of the traditional Washington quarter design before the states began appearing on the reverse side. For collectors, this makes 1998 a transitional year, a final chapter in a long era of the Washington Eagle design, which had been used consistently since 1932. Now, while most 1998 quarters were struck by the millions and are considered common, it's the uncommon traits that turn this ordinary coin into an extraordinary piece of numismatic gold. And here's where things get really interesting. The 1998 Washington quarter was minted in 3 different locations: Philadelphia, marked with a P, Denver, marked with a D, and San Francisco, with an S for proof coins. The Philadelphia and Denver mints produced quarters for everyday circulation. The San Francisco mint, however, produced proof coins primarily for collectors, coins with ultra-shiny finishes and razor-sharp details. But as history has shown us time and time again, mistakes happen, even in highly controlled environments, and those mistakes are exactly what can turn a pocketful of change into a payday. Among the most sought-after 1998 quarters are those that feature dramatic minting errors, and believe me, error coins are like winning lottery tickets for collectors. In the case of the 1998 quarter, there have been several astonishing finds. One of the most valuable and talked about errors is the 1998 quarter struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, such as a penny or a foreign coin. These are known as wrong planchet errors, and they're incredibly rare. Imagine holding a quarter that's the size of a penny, or struck on a planchet with a different metal composition. These errors are not only fascinating, but extremely valuable. Another high-value error is the off-center strike, where the design is misaligned, often with a blank crescent visible on one side of the coin. The more dramatic the off-center error, especially 50% or more, the more valuable the coin becomes. Then there are the double die errors, which occur when the die that strikes the coin imprints the design twice in slightly different positions. This causes details like the date, lettering, or even George Washington's profile to appear doubled. These errors are favorites among serious collectors because of their eye-catching appearance and extreme rarity. Let's not forget about clipped planchet errors, where part of the coin appears cut off or curved, as if someone took a bite out of it. It may look like damage to the untrained eye, but to a numismatist, it's a precious mistake that significantly boosts the value of the coin. But beyond errors, there's another factor that makes the 1998 Washington quarter so valuable to collectors: grade and condition. A regular 1998 quarter found in circulation might be worth its face value, but the same coin, in mint state condition, meaning no scratches, no wear, and perfectly preserved, can skyrocket in value, especially if combined with a mint error. Many collectors send their coins to professional grading companies like PCGS or NGC to be evaluated. A 1998 quarter graded MS 67 or higher, especially with an error, becomes a serious prize. These coins are extremely difficult to find, as most quarters from 1998 have been heavily circulated over the years. That's why high-grade examples are so prized, and here's something even more exciting: there are fewer and fewer of these high-grade, error 1998 quarters available, which means their value is only going up. In auctions, collectors have shown time and again that they're willing to pay premium prices for the right coin. And that brings us to the moment you've been waiting for. 1998 Washington quarter, struck on the wrong planchet, preserved in pristine condition, and verified as a mint error by professional grading experts, sold for an astonishing $75,000. That's right. $75,000 for a coin that was never meant to be rare, but became a sensation because of a few imperfections and a lot of collector demand. Now imagine, what if that coin is sitting in your drawer right now? What if it's in your pocket, or your piggy bank, or mixed in with a stack of change you've been meaning to roll up and deposit? This is why coin collecting is so thrilling. Every coin has a story, and sometimes that story is worth more than you ever dreamed. So what should you do next? Go through your change. Pull out every 1998 quarter you can find. Look for signs of off-center strikes, doubling, unusual coloring, missing edges, or anything that looks just a little out of the ordinary. And if you find something that seems rare, hold on to it. Get it checked. You might be holding a tiny fortune in your hands. Top 3. We're diving into the incredible story of a coin you've probably held in your hands many times without realizing it might be worth a small fortune: the 1994 Washington quarter. Yes, that simple 25-cent piece from the mid-90s that most people ignore could actually be worth thousands, and in one unbelievable case, a rare 1994 quarter sold for an eye-popping $79,000. So stick with us until the very end of this video, because we're going to unpack the history, the secret errors, the collector demand, and exactly why this quarter can be so valuable. Whether you're new to coin collecting or a seasoned hunter, you won't want to miss a second of this. Let's set the scene. The year is 1994. The U.S. Mint is still producing the classic Eagleback Washington quarter, a design that had been in place since 1932. The famous profile of George Washington graces the obverse, a design by John Flanagan, and the reverse features a majestic eagle with spread wings, a symbol of American strength and heritage. This was a few years before the Mint began producing the popular 50-state quarters in 1999, so the 1994 issue marks the final stretch of an era, the last of a traditional design that collectors would soon appreciate even more once it was gone. Now, in terms of mintage, the 1994 Washington quarter was produced in large numbers. The Philadelphia Mint cranked out over 825 million of them, while the Denver Mint struck more than 880 million. So yes, this coin is common, but here's the thing: not all 1994 quarters are created equal, and this is where the story starts to heat up. Among those hundreds of millions of quarters, a very small number contain minting errors that are so rare, so unusual, and so visually striking that they've turned a once common coin into a numismatic legend. These coins didn't just slip past the watchful eyes of the Mint, they became accidental treasures, and collectors are willing to pay top dollar to own one. Let's talk about some of the errors that make the 1994 quarter incredibly valuable. First up, the off-center strike. This happens when the blank metal disc, called a planchet, is not properly aligned when it's struck by the dies. The result? A quarter with part of its design missing, sometimes showing a crescent of blank metal. The more off-center the strike, especially if you can still see the date, the more valuable the coin becomes. Next, we have the infamous double die error. This occurs when the coin's design is stamped twice slightly off from the first impression. On the 1994 Washington quarter, a double die error can create doubled lettering, dates, or even parts of Washington's profile. These errors are extremely eye-catching and extremely rare. Another incredible find is the wrong planchet error. This is when a quarter is struck on a coin blank meant for another denomination, like a penny, a nickel, or even a foreign coin. This results in a quarter that's too small, too light, or made of an entirely different metal. These are so scarce that they're like winning the coin lottery. Now let's not forget clipped planchet errors, where a portion of the coin is missing because the metal strip was improperly cut. It may look damaged, but if the curve is smooth and natural, you might just be holding a valuable mint error. One of the most exciting discoveries in recent years was a 1994 quarter with a dramatic off-metal strike, a coin that looked completely different from the norm, made of the wrong metal but still struck with the quarter design. This type of error is ultra-rare, and collectors went wild over it, and of course, condition matters just as much as errors. Most 1994 quarters have been heavily used, scratched, worn, tossed around in pockets and vending machines for years. But a mint state example, especially one graded MS 66 or higher by PCGS or NGC, is extremely desirable. Combine that kind of condition with a mint error, and you've got a perfect storm for collector value. There's something special about a coin that looks ordinary but hides a rare flaw. Coin collectors love the thrill of the hunt, the idea that something valuable is just waiting to be found in an everyday transaction. That's why error coins, especially from modern years like 1994, are so exciting. Now here's the kicker. In a public auction, a 1994 Washington quarter with an extremely rare wrong planchet error, certified in pristine condition, sold for a stunning $79,000, yes, you heard that right. $79,000 for one coin. One quarter. One 25-cent piece that became the ultimate collector's jackpot. So let me ask you this, when was the last time you really looked at your change? Right now, there are people all across the country digging through their coin jars, checking their pocket change, and going back through old rolls of quarters from the bank. Why? Because rare coins like this don't just live in museums. They're out there. In the wild. In pockets. In purses. And maybe, just maybe, in your own home. So here's your next step. Look at every 1994 quarter you can find. Check for doubling, off-center designs, strange shapes, missing edges, or unusual coloring. And if you find something that doesn't look quite right, don't spend it, have it examined by a professional coin grader. Because you might just be holding something worth more than most people's cars. Top 4. We're about to uncover the surprising truth behind one of the most overlooked quarters in circulation, the 1983 Washington quarter. Yes, you heard that right. Not 1883, not a colonial-era coin, but a modern-day 1983 Washington quarter. A coin you probably saw hundreds of times and never gave a second thought to. But here's the twist, this seemingly ordinary quarter, minted during the Reagan administration, has been making waves in the collector's world for one simple reason: some of these coins have sold for more than the cost of a luxury car, and I'm not talking about a few $100. I'm talking about a value so high, it makes you want to go check your pockets, your drawers, and your old change jars right now. Because one of these quarters sold for an unbelievable $85,000, but before we get to that jaw-dropping number, let's take a journey. Let's understand the why, the how, and the what that makes this coin so incredibly rare and valuable. First, a bit of context: the 1983 Washington quarter was minted in both Philadelphia and Denver. On the surface, it doesn't seem rare at all. Over 675 million quarters were struck in Philadelphia alone. That's right, more than 500 million coins. So how in the world could any one of them be worth a small fortune? Well, it comes down to three things: survival, condition, and error types. Here's the first big clue, and it's something most casual collectors don't know. In 1982 and 1983, the United States Mint did not issue official mint sets. That means there were no specially preserved uncirculated coins available to the public during those years. No shiny mint-packaged quarters saved in pristine condition. Every single 1983 quarter that exists today came straight from circulation, pocket change, cashier drawers, vending machines, you name it. So imagine this, you're looking for a 1983 quarter in flawless condition. But it was never sealed. It was never protected. It's like finding a rare comic book that's been folded, torn, and stepped on, but somehow, one pristine copy remains, and that's what makes the 1983 Washington quarter a collector's dream. Now let's dive into the errors, because this is where things get even more exciting. The most famous and valuable error associated with the 1983 quarter is the double die reverse, often abbreviated as DDR. What happens here is that during the minting process, the reverse die, the one that stamps the eagle and text, strikes the coin twice, but not perfectly aligned. The result? Letters like United States of America or quarter dollar appear to have a ghost-like doubling effect. If you find one of these, do not spend it. These coins are rare, highly collectible, and can fetch incredible prices, but that's just the beginning. Some 1983 quarters were struck on the wrong planchets, like blanks meant for dimes or foreign coins. These coins may be the wrong color, too light, or slightly smaller than a regular quarter. These striking mistakes are super rare, but very real, and highly sought after by serious error collectors. Then there are off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned and part of the coin is blank. These are visually stunning and very collectible, especially when the date is still visible. If you have an off-center 1983 quarter, you might be sitting on hundreds, or thousands, of dollars. We also see clipped planchet errors, where a part of the coin appears cut off in a smooth, curved manner, almost like someone took a bite out of it. These kinds of errors don't happen often, but when they do, especially from a year like 1983, their value can skyrocket. Now let's talk about grades. And this is where the magic really happens. The most important thing to understand is that grading is everything in coin collecting. The difference between a quarter worth $5 and one worth $50,000 is often the difference between MS-65 and MS-67. In the case of the 1983 Washington quarter, a coin graded MS-67 or better is considered a miracle of survival. Imagine this, a coin that has been out in the world for decades, with no special preservation, yet it still retains its full mint luster, sharp details, and absolutely no contact marks. It's the needle in the haystack that every collector dreams of, and one of those exact coins did go to auction. This specific 1983 quarter was graded MS-67 Plus by PCGS, that's the Professional Coin Grading Service, one of the most trusted grading authorities in the world. The coin was clean, nearly flawless, and full of radiant luster. Collectors instantly knew how special it was. When it finally hit the auction floor, bidding exploded. Every serious collector in the room, and many online, wanted it. After a bidding war that left jaws on the floor, that single 1983 Washington quarter sold for a staggering $85,000, yes, $85,000. For a modern quarter. Let that sink in. Now, why should you care? Because there are still 1983 quarters out there, in circulation, in old collections, sitting in jars or forgotten in boxes. And with a little patience, a good magnifying glass, and a sharp eye, you could be the next person to discover one of these modern treasures. Look for doubling. Look for sharp strikes. Pay close attention to condition. And remember, if you think you found something special, don't clean it. Don't mess with it. Just get it graded, because what you're holding might not just be a quarter, it could be a legacy. So to all our fellow coin hunters and history lovers, keep checking, keep learning, and never underestimate the power of a simple coin. Because one day, you might be telling the world how your spare change turned into a fortune. Top 5. We're about to dive into a story that's going to change the way you look at Washington quarters forever. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever held a 1972 Washington quarter in your hand and thought, this could be worth a fortune? Probably not, right? It's a coin so common, so ordinary looking, that most people wouldn't give it a second glance. It's been in circulation for over 50 years. People use it in vending machines, toss it in parking meters, or donate it in tip jars without thinking twice. But what if I told you that a single 1972 Washington quarter once sold for an eye-popping, wallet-melting sum, a jaw-dropping $96,000, yes. You heard that right. $96,000. For a coin you may have touched, or passed along, or even spent without ever knowing. So what makes the 1972 Washington quarter so special? Why are collectors going crazy for it? And how could this everyday coin reach such a mind-blowing value? Well, buckle up and listen carefully, because today's video is going to take you on a journey through minting mistakes, secret survival stories, and collector obsessions that turned one of the most overlooked coins in American history into a true hidden treasure. Let's start with the basics. The 1972 Washington quarter was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D, and San Francisco, S, for proof coins. And in total, over 500 million quarters were produced that year. That doesn't sound rare, right? But as every true coin hunter knows, rarity isn't always about how many were made. Sometimes it's about how many survived in pristine condition, and with rare, unintended flaws, and that's exactly where the 1972 quarter story takes a wild turn. Let's talk about errors. The 1972 Washington quarter is infamous for a few specific errors that have made it a hot target among serious collectors. These are not your average, run-of-the-mill mistakes. These are the kind of rare errors that make coins skyrocket in value. First up, double die obverse. This error occurs when the die that strikes the front of the coin, the one with George Washington's profile, is misaligned during the minting process. As a result, certain elements like the date, 1972, the word liberty, or the motto, "In God We Trust," appear doubled. It's a subtle but striking effect, and if you spot it under a magnifying glass, you might just be holding something extraordinary. Then, we have off-center strikes. Imagine a coin where only part of the design is visible, because it was stamped off-center at the mint. The rest is just blank planchet. These off-center quarters are extremely collectible, especially when the date is still visible. And from 1972, they're even more in demand. Another rare and wild error is the clipped planchet. That's when the metal disc used to create the coin was miscut at the mint, leaving a small curved chunk missing from the edge of the coin, almost like a crescent moon took a bite out of it. These kinds of errors from 1972 are sought after and can easily pull in hundreds or even thousands of dollars. But wait, the most intriguing of all, some 1972 quarters were accidentally struck on the wrong planchet, meaning, they were minted on blanks meant for pennies or foreign coins. These coins come out thinner, sometimes reddish in tone, or just smaller than usual. Spot one of those? You found a unicorn. Now, beyond the errors, one major factor affects the coin's worth, condition, and here's where things get really intense. Most coins from 1972 have been through decades of wear and tear, dropped, scratched, scraped, and stacked. But finding a 1972 quarter in mint state, we're talking about MS 67 or higher, is nearly impossible. The surfaces need to be flawless. No scratches, no dulling, just pure, lustrous beauty. These coins shine with a brilliance that collectors go crazy for. Now picture this: in 2022, a stunning 1972 Washington quarter appeared at a prestigious coin auction. Graded an ultra-rare MS 68, it had been perfectly preserved for half a century. The sharpness of the strike, the gleaming surfaces, and the overall pristine condition left even seasoned experts speechless. Add to that a double die obverse and the Philadelphia Mint, which had the lowest survival rate of high-grade coins that year, and you've got a coin with lightning-in-a-bottle rarity. The result? A bidding war, collectors from all over the world, dealers, investors, hobbyists, all trying to add this perfect coin to their collection, and when the hammer finally dropped, the price stunned the entire coin community. That single 1972 Washington quarter sold for $96,000. That's right, $96,000. For a single quarter. A piece of pocket change that once bought a soda, now worth more than a luxury car. Think about that for a second. Right now, there could be a forgotten quarter in your house, in an old piggy bank, in your coin jar, or tucked away in a box of keepsakes, that could change your life. So the next time you're going through your change or buying something with cash, don't ignore those quarters. Examine them. Study them. Pay attention to the year, 1972, and look closely for doubling, striking errors, off-centers, or unusual color and size. Because the world of coins is full of surprises, and every great discovery starts with someone curious enough to look a little closer. Thank you for watching Coins Hunter USA, your trusted home for the best stories, secrets, and values behind America's most fascinating coins. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next valuable discovery. And once again, let me remind you, that rare 1972 Washington quarter, it's sold for an astonishing $96,000. Now go check your change, you might be holding your own little fortune.